What is up, everybody? Live video is starting. It says, we'll give it a second. I don't know if it has actually started or not. All right, looks like we're live. What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Hope your week's going awesome so far. Looks like there was a poll that was taken, and talking about email marketing was the winner, followed closely by talking about sales funnels. And these are two topics that, in my opinion, are almost interchangeable, but they're also a little bit confusing because there's a lot of different things that can mean. So, from a marketing expert standpoint, I hear email marketing and I'm like, well, what kind of email marketing? Like, are we talking about nurture sequences? Are we talking about sales sequences? Are we talking about like a webinar follow up sequence? And I think that's where I can kind of over intellectualize what an email sequence is, or what is even going to be the most helpful information for you today to talk about when it comes to email marketing and growing an email list. So the biggest lesson, like if you're going to watch 2 minutes of this video and you get one big takeaway, the biggest lesson is to start with something that you can be consistent with, because by far the biggest struggle that I hear from people, or hear people when they talk about email marketing, it's like, well, I put all this effort into growing my list and now I don't touch it. Like, now I'm afraid of emailing my list because, like, when I email, people unsubscribe, or when I email, I get responses from people that are saying maybe not so productive things or not nice things. So we put all this pressure on ourselves to grow the list because everybody's like, the money's in the list, the money is in the list. But then it's like, okay, but like, how does it translate? Like, how do we go from here to over here and like make the list turn into money when we're afraid of emailing our lists, and when we do it sporadically, but then we don't want to only email them to sell to them? So it's figuring out, it's kind of like a one size fits you. Like, what do you want to do with your email list? What can you actually commit to doing? And at a minimum, if you can send your list an email weekly, and even if you just put something in your calendar for Friday mornings and it's like a roundup of things that you've seen on the internet, or if you're creating content, a blog post or a podcast you created, or somewhere where you were a guest expert, or something that you think would be interesting, just to get, almost just to train yourself to be consistent in email marketing and not being afraid of your email list. Because it is, as a business owner, it is the only thing, maybe not the only thing, but one of the things that we can own that will allow us to reach back out. And of course, it's different depending on what country you're in. If you're part of the GDPR where that's being enforced, there are a lot of rules around how you can email people and if you're even allowed to follow up with people or build your email list. But for my expertise as someone in the United States, we can collect email addresses in our database that, as long as they are not unsubscribing, we can email them basically whenever we want. There are people that I get emails from every single day that I don't unsubscribe from because I think they're interesting. I think they're fun. I learn things from them. There are good stories. There's one guy that's in like the fitness industry, and he's talking about his membership every day via email, but he has like a funny spin or a funny story or something that's relevant for, like an event that's happening in the world. He always ties it in, and at the end it's like, oh, by the way, did you know I am doing this in my membership right now, or did you know that I have this going on, or this promotion? And he always comes up with a reason to make noise about his membership, but he's emailing me every single day and I like it. So for people who think like, oh, I would never send out an email every day, or people would hate it, or even weekly, like, people don't want to hear from me that much. Yes, they really truly do. The other thing, when people are focusing on growing their email list and they've got, either like an opt-in of some sort, what they call like the ethical bribe. I'm going to ask you for your email address. You're going to give me your email address in exchange for something that's valuable to you. So before I started talking about tiny offers a lot, it was freebies, like a free PDF that you could get, like a webinar, putting on a webinar that involves a registration form. That's an email opt-in as well. Tiny offers, by far, they are my favorite email growth strategy. But anytime that there is a form that has something that they're getting in exchange for giving up or providing you with their name and email address, that's a list building strategy. So a lot of people will come up with what is their list building strategy, and then they'll get the name and the email on their email list, and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do next? I can't email them. Like, they just signed up. How soon should I email them? What if I email them right away and they don't want to hear from me that fast? But the biggest thing to remember is, like, they will never be as excited about you and about finding you and being on your email list as they are immediately after this, new thing that they found. So the novelty, the dopamine is strong when they've just come onto your email list. So you need to email them as fast as possible. You need to get back in front of them, provide something else. Just think about your experience on the email list of someone that you truly love, not someone that annoys you that you want to unsubscribe from right away. But think about, as a consumer, what kind of emails do you like to get? What do you always open and why? Like, what do you always delete without even looking at, and why? Is it the subject line? Is it the person? Is it not remembering you were even on that email list? So you can start saving emails that you really like. Inside of my inbox, we have all these different folders, and I'll, subscribe to certain people because I like their cadence of how they send emails, or their tone, or what they talk about in their emails. And I'll save them as a swipe file for later for inspiration, so that I can look at the content, or I can figure out, what was it that I liked about this email, and how can I use it in my own strategy. So as far as email marketing, getting them on your email list is the first thing to figure out. How do you want to build that strategy? Do you want to grow your email list with a tiny offer funnel? Do you want to have a freebie of some kind? Do you want to give them could be a free video, free PDF, free training series that is delivered over 3 days? It's really not up to me to tell you what to do, because you've got to know how you want to show up. You have to know what you're willing to do, what you're willing to commit to, and what you're willing to create. I, of course, love tiny offers because it is a form. The way I set it up, it has a 2-step order form. So I get people's name and email on the first step of the form, and then payment information on the second step of the form. So whether or not they end up buying my tiny offer, I'm still getting all of those leads from the first step of the order form. So that's something to think about, because that is, the other name for a tiny offer funnel is a self-liquidating offer funnel. The goal is to liquidate your ad spend. So if you're considering running ads to anything, that's a really good way to make sure that some portion, if not all of it, is covered by what you're paying to Facebook is coming back to you, and what people are purchasing after they've opted in. So always thinking about, is there going to be an upsell after your freebie? If you're doing something like a freebie and then a small product, that's more of what they call a tripwire funnel. So not a true self-liquidating offer. I think people get those confused a little bit. But also knowing that if you're promoting a live webinar or an evergreen webinar, or even asking them to fill out an application, all of these are just different strategies to get people onto your email list and hopefully find content at some point that's going to connect with them enough to encourage them to become a client of yours or a customer of yours. So when it comes to sales funnels, and I was just talking to someone about this in my Instagram DMs earlier today, she was asking for help with funnels, and I was like, okay, which part of funnels? When you say funnel, what does the word funnel mean to you? Because I know it's kind of an open-ended thing. There's a lot of different pieces of a funnel. So if you think about, there's almost 3 different phases to what you'd call a sales funnel. So there's getting traffic to the funnel. That would be your organic content or your ads or something that's getting people to the landing page or sales page. And then from there, there's some kind of exchange that happens within the sales funnel, some, ethical bribe, what I called it earlier, where they're giving you their contact information and permission to contact them again, and you're giving them something valuable in return. That's a part of the funnel. Of course, if there are sales that can be made after that step, if they're going to watch a webinar and then buy a product potentially, if it's a tiny offer funnel and there's, an offer suite that's going to be created and offered after that. If it's a high ticket application funnel, so they're applying to book a call with a member of your team to get, a free strategy call. There's only so many funnel recipes that exist. So that's I'd say the design and the exchange of information part of the funnel. And then there's the email sequence, which is where a lot of your actual sales and, connection is going to happen is after the like beautiful part of the funnel or the designed part of the funnel that takes place in the web browser, and then it shifts to email. So from email, then it's like, how many emails are you going to send them in between? Are you going to be able to move people from one funnel to another funnel? Since we know there's only so many funnel recipes, can you move them from a self-liquidating offer funnel to getting emails now about a webinar that you're putting on, and then watching the webinar and maybe buying a course? And then once they're in the course, can you email them and connect with them to show that the next step that might be ready for them, or that they might be ready for, is joining, something that's higher ticket. So when you think about like the grand scheme of funnels, it could be a 2-year long process. Like someone could come in, they could meet you, they could fall in love with you, but as their business grows, you remain top of mind so that when they're ready for the next level, you're still top of mind. You're still the one that they're going to hire for the highest ticket thing, even if that's not where they came in. So there's like this really, really long theory of a funnel, but also knowing that people might not all come in at the same place. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that I had about funnels, is it's not always going to start with the freebie. For example, I'm not going to always, or not everyone's going to be the person that comes in through a freebie, and then 2 months later an email catches my attention and then I buy a bigger course. 3 months after that, I've finished the course, I've completed the work, and now I'm ready for some coaching to take it to the next level. People might come in at different points. So someone might come in, get a freebie, and never ever do anything else. Someone else might see you somewhere in the internet land sphere and they might say, this person has exactly the knowledge that I've been looking for. Their expertise is exactly what I need. Give me your highest ticket thing right now, because I'm not in the place where this freebie makes sense for me. I don't need a course. Like, I just need the coaching. So they might jump right in with your highest ticket thing. So that's where the differentiation happens in how you're thinking about it. Sometimes the funnel can take 2 years worth of nurturing, and you have to know all of the ins and outs of the client journey and what they're thinking and what would help someone to like kind of jump lanes into the other offers that you have, versus having the funnel set up so if someone sees you and they want to come in just for your high ticket application funnel that you have, that's available too. This is a really hard place to start. However, I am like 3 years, probably 2 or 3 years into building funnels for my business. And granted, I move really slow because I have 3 children, and like when something works, I will just run with it for a really long time. So I'm not always like creating new funnels and optimizing new things. And like when something works, I will just run with it for as long as possible until it breaks, and then I have to think of something new out of necessity. But it does take time, and it takes clarity, and it takes listening to your audience to know what they need at each point. And I recently joined the Inner Circle, which is ClickFunnels mastermind with Russell Brunson. And on my like intake call, I guess it was a sales call, but it was also them qualifying me in a way to see if I was ready, if I would be a great addition to this mastermind, because it is very like, it's a peer. You want to make sure that there's peer help too. So like I can take information from it, but I can also provide valuable information and make sure that it's like a reciprocity community full of helpers. So they're like trying to gauge what I've created or what I've done too. And they said like, Allie, you have the most built out value ladder of anyone that we've seen in all of the Inner Circle applications. And I was like, that's cool, but it took a really long time to get to that point. So I don't want people to watch what I'm doing and be like, okay, she's got a high ticket, she's got a course, she's got a group program, she's got this tiny offer. I have to do everything all at once, because as we all know, that like creates this cycle of spinning and not actually finishing and launching anything sometimes. Then we're like jumping from topic to topic and like, ooh, I have to think about this funnel and I have to think about this funnel. So my biggest advice is like, don't think about the 2-year long version of your funnel. Don't think about that whole customer journey of what happens when someone comes in and they're brand new to me, they're brand new to the subject, the pain point, whatever. How am I going to help them make this? I keep saying 2 years, but how am I going to convert people from all this whole journey? It's like, where can you make the biggest impact for the most profitable amount of money for you, for where you're at right now? And of course, I love tiny offers. I love having that ad strategy, but more and more, as ads get crazier in the iOS 14 update and there's a lot of volatility in the advertising world, I would much rather have people who are watching here get a really solid higher ticket offer set up, something that they can sell and make, $5,000 or $10,000 of profit off of that, and then take that and reinvest it into the assets that you would need to be able to test your ads on the front end. Of course, at some point, they will all work together and all feed into each other, but it's a really hard place to start when you're trying to launch it all at the same time. Shiloh can't get caught up in not being you yet. There's this podcast that my kids listen to that's about growth mindset, and there's this whole episode about the power of yet, and we always say yet. You're not there yet, or you're not, you don't know, you're not a multiplication table expert yet, or whatever. So it's that's a really great reframe, because it's all possible, it's all learnable, but it does take a huge amount of patience with ourselves to be okay with being at the beginning stage, because being at the beginning stage stinks. It's not fun. It's not as exciting as being in the expert phase where you get to talk about, it's all of your dreams coming to fruition. It stinks to be at the beginning. So if you're at the beginning, hold tight and hold the vision and just keep chugging along, putting one foot in front of the other. Shiloh says, which site do you use to build your funnels? I use ClickFunnels, and I also use, I don't want to confuse you guys, I use ClickFunnels for my front end funnels because I like how easily I can get in and build those, but I've also built other funnels on WordPress using Thrivecart embedded. So Thrivecart is one to look at if you're just getting started, because they just opened up Learn. I think they're calling it Learn at Thrivecart. I don't know if that's the exact name, but now they have a whole platform for being able to build your course out on using Thrivecart, so people can check out and then get instant access to their learning management software. So it can be a really seamless thing, and it's pretty affordable. I think it's maybe a couple $100 to get that set up, and then you get a lifetime access. I have to look, and I have special links for you if you want it. I think there's some benefit to using my affiliate link. I'm not sure. Benefit to you and me, I should say. So if we're talking about email marketing and funnels, it's what is the one funnel recipe that you want to create right now? So it's, how do you like to show up? What is going to be the most profitable for you? It's ultimately, a sales funnel is showing a big offer, showing an offer to a group of people, and then a few people will drop off because it's not quite right, and then a few more will drop off because it's not quite right. That's why it's funnel shaped, right? Because people fall off a little bit at each step. So knowing, I think, as I'm I always think in terms of tiny offers. So I'm if I were to create a new tiny offer, or as I'm thinking about mentally planning for what my next tiny offer is going to be, it's going to be about offers. Because if you can nail your offer, if you can start and figure out what is your result, what is the best case result that you can get for people, then you can imagine what's the high ticket delivery version of this result. If I'm going to give everyone the most amount of my attention and the most amount of impact, maybe not impact, but most amount of contact with me, personal contact with me, what would they get to that end result? And then you kind of slowly take your availability and their ability to get direct face-to-face contact with you out a little bit. They get a little bit less as the price goes down. So for me, it's the result is always having a successful online business that sells group programs and courses and coaching, essentially. That's the end result, is your business is successful. The delivery vehicles that people get it in are different. My highest ticket thing, they get Voxer, they get one-on-one Zoom calls, they get my team building out things. So that's highest ticket. The lower ticket is a group program, so now they get group access to a Zoom call, and ultimately those two groups could get the same result. There's also a course where if they're doing all of the work themselves, they don't, they get a Q&A with me on Facebook, so not even face-to-face, it's face to computer. And then there's the tiny offers that it's all on them. It's just content, and my membership is the same thing, where it's just recorded content where I'm not live anywhere, but I'm, it's recorded stuff. So you can kind of see how when you pull back your time and attention, direct attention and direct feedback and coaching, as that's that becomes less and less, the price gets lower. So you can figure out like if you're going to launch one offer and have your email strategy to build up towards that offer, get the right people in for that offer that would be interested in that offer. Picture that little like section, that little piece of the timeline for what you want to create and what those people who are ready to jump in at that point of their journey, how does that look, or what does it look like to create that like little segment of the customer journey, and then create an offer that matches that. So in creating offers or having my own tiny offer about offers, it's so meta, but it's like a tiny offer about tiny offers. We did that too, so why not? But it would be like, how do you design an offer that you can turn into a tiny offer, or an offer that you could scale into a high ticket program? I had someone, I think probably maybe a year and a half ago, go through Tiny Offer Lab when it was at the $6,000 group program level, and she didn't like the idea of running ads. She was very uncomfortable with like the visibility of having ads going, and I worked with her for a very long time, and we realized like a year later that it was a mindset thing of like, I've only ever gotten clients from direct referrals and like after knowing them very, very well. So it felt uncomfortable for her to attract strangers. So she kind of like pulled back and didn't want to do it because it felt weird. But she ended up taking the content that she was going to sell for her tiny offer, and she added some coaching sessions. She added a little bit more contact to it, kept the content the same, and then she turned around and sold it for $10,000. So it was like based on the teaching from Tiny Offer Lab, and she like repurposed the offer. So I was like, that's really interesting that you can take something that was supposed to be a tiny offer, as long as the offer is solid and the offer is scalable and the framework is there and the result is there. Like, you can take your offer and turn it into any type of cash injection you want. Like if you're having a month where you've got a vacation you want to go on, or something that you want to save in, say you want to remodel your kitchen, and which this is something I actually did. You can launch something that's higher ticket and charge more, as long as you've got the email list built up and you can, you have a system, like a sales funnel system to get the right people in. You could launch any version of your offer at any time to get a cash injection inside your business. So thank you. That's awesome. I just got it done. I appreciate that. After months and months of like trying to not being able to go in and get my hair done, just with crazy schedules and kids home all the time, I finally got some mama self-care time in. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right. Hopefully this has been helpful. I know it's not, if you want like more specific tangible advice of like, this is what an opt-in landing page conversion rate should be, we could do that kind of training sometime, but this is like the 10,000 foot view of funnels and email marketing strategy as I see it, but we can always do something more specific too. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm going to hop on a group coaching call for Tiny Offer Accelerator. And yeah, let me know how this sits if you have any questions about anything, and I will see you all inside of this group later. Thanks, everybody. Bye.